Savage Rock School is a nonprofit teaching center dedicated to showing kids and adults how to rock. At Savage Rock School, you can learn a variety of different instruments, styles, and techniques to further your knowledge of music theory and application. Learn music and make music at Savage Rock School, located at 7 South Blackwoods Pike at the intersection of Route 168 and Church Street in Blackwood, New Jersey. Search for Mike Britt on Facebook or call him at 856-217-4742. That's 856-217-4742.
So we're teaching kids how to rock. We're basically kind of like on-the-job training on how to be in a cover band. Most of the time, if you get really good at playing other people's songs, then when you eventually start to write your own songs, you have a wider vocabulary and skill set to draw from. So we would slap instruments on these kids and we'd be like, all right, We Are the Champions goes like this. I can't believe we did We Are the Champions. Yeah, I can't believe that we got through Bohemian Rhapsody. We put so much work into that one that when we were done, I was like, can we play that again? We put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, that one.
Here we go. All right, here's some history from before I was there. Before there was the Savage Rock School, it had a prototype. It was called the American Amateur Music Union. This is something that Bob wrote in probably 2005, maybe 2006, to create a nonprofit national organization for amateur musicians. This organization will allow for charter member clubs to be created all throughout America. It will organize local, state, district, and national competitions in various musical genres for anyone ages 20 years or younger. By securing nonprofit status, it will allow for donations and fundraising to help reduce costs and give children from all walks of life an opportunity, a platform, to place to learn and practice and then display their talents on stage through various levels of lessons, training, and competitions and/or shows. Both band and solo levels can be held. 2-day weekend events, much like what basketball is, but with music. Back in the MySpace days, when you were in a band and you wanted to play shows in the area, MySpace had this little search thing in which you would be able to go all shows within 5 miles, all shows within 10 miles. You can't do that on Facebook. But anyway, every week I would do that. Whenever I would see a venue I didn't recognize, I would try to figure out how to contact them and get a show there. So that was like the way of scouting out venues at the time. The third or fourth time I saw Savage Rock School, I was like, okay, I got to check this place out. Bob Savage somehow knew who I was. Josh and somebody else had recorded with me before, and he just heard my name through other things, and he invited me to bring my studio into that building because he was like, hey, I'm paying a lot for this place. I have a lot of unused rooms. I want to have an all-purpose music building going on. And he something that Bob and I had in common was we wanted to provide an affordable solution for people. There was a ton of people out there that were interested in this stuff and couldn't really get into music without paying a lot of money to send his daughters to that school of rock. And he was just thinking like, well, it'd be great to make like a cheaper version of this so that some kids out there can have the opportunity. And I've had a really similar kind of way with recording, how I tried to keep things affordable. I don't want the poor kids to get priced out, and most of us are poor. If you look at the stats, it was just a really good win-win situation because the rock school was only teaching kids from like certain times of the day, and I was recording late at night, so it was just getting more use out of the building that he was paying for anyway. We went to Great Adventure once. I recorded a cover band. One of the guys in the band was just like, "Hey, well, I work at Great Adventure, so if you know," and I'm like, "Cool." And I introduced him to Bob, and Bob's like, "Cool." Before you know it, the kids got a gig at Great Adventure. So I forget how many kids we brought with us, but it was a good amount, and we played. They had this stage. We played all these songs. It started to rain. We packed up and went home. It was great. Yeah, you can look that up on YouTube. Savage Rock School, Great Adventure. We were always trying. We had mass campaigns, and even in the very beginning, there was always weird little restrictions on us. There was a Rite Aid across the street, so constantly you had kids running across the street to the Rite Aid. About 20 feet away was a crosswalk. But why would you walk 20 feet to cross the street when you could just cross now? If you don't see any cars coming. Not everybody would look. Some people would literally run right out into the street and get hit by a car. Yeah, but anyway, that was a problem. We had a few things like that was attracting police constantly. If there was more money involved, then we would have a security person out front at all times, constantly telling everyone not to be kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, that really wasn't much of an option for us.
Okay. Bob had this awesome rant on MySpace about what you can't do when you're at Savage Rock School.
I remember that.
Yeah. And so I took that rant and I did a little bit of editing and I made a printout So I want to read that. When attending a show at Savage Rock School, please understand the following. Shows are for all ages. There is no smoking, drugs, or alcohol permitted in the building or the property. The township will close down shows and we don't need it or want it here. Fighting, altercations are not acceptable. You will be asked to leave and will not be permitted into the building from then on. There are not many places for local bands to play an all-ages show, and we would like to help that. Please understand that if you do not follow our rules, you will be contributing to the possibility of us not hosting shows. We are a rock school for kids, first and foremost. When outside, please do not hang out in front of Alfred's Pizza Shop. If the owner reports any BS or disrespect from any show attendees, you will be asked to leave and not be allowed to return. If you need some place to wait, please wait inside or in front of the building. Please do not be obnoxious and loud. We do have neighbors. There is no parking at our location. Do not park in the alleyway. The alleyway is used by our neighbors and should not be used unless consulting with the person running the door. Parking on the Black Horse Pike is permitted, but only for specific times. There's signs on the street. Read them. There is free public parking at the public library next to Choose Flores down the street. No beeping the horn, squealing tires, or revving engines. And all trash should go in the proper waste baskets. Here is a printout of the Gloucester Township Ordinance on loitering. So this is the law right here. And as you see, I've gotten a highlighter out and I'm like, okay, so spending time idly walking about aimlessly, hanging around. This means you. The alley, a savage, there was alley, all these people hanging out in the alley. And that brought attention to cops too. There was a weird thing, public grounds, there as well as parking lots, the Rite Aid parking lot, always people hanging out in the Rite Aid parking lot every week, all the time. It's because of us, we have 100 cars in the Rite Aid parking lot and everybody's hanging out in the Rite Aid parking lot and acting like fools, and Rite Aid hated it and the cops hated it.
I remember that.
And it doesn't say that you have to, in the law, it doesn't say that you actually have to be doing anything out there, as long as the cop thinks that you're likely to cause.
Oh, nice.
Yes, that it as the word likely is in there, so that is the law. So the cop can order you to leave that place, but that's all they can do. After about 3 years of that, he was like, look, I gotta leave. My kids have grown up. They're not really in the program so much anymore. And, you know, I kind of want to spend more time at home and all this. You can keep this going if you want to try. And so I tried. But myself and a bunch of generous friends every single month somehow raised enough money to keep it going for almost a year. So my regime didn't last quite as long as Bob. Bob was in control of the place for most of the time. I had to deal with it closing down, but I'm very proud that my friends and I were able to keep it going for almost another year. A lot of cool things happened during that time.
Is there anyone in particular that helped you out with it that you could think of right now that you want to name?
Okay, I gotta thank Alan from 1619 House for doing his Randy Savage shows. It looks like I gave him every Thursday in October. I was just like, hey man, do whatever you want, you know, like just try to make a little bit of money to help keep the building going, and mostly to use the place, you know, because it's an opportunity for bands who are from far away to have a place to play, bands from around here to feel like they're doing something, a place for their friends to come see them and maybe play for the other band. Anyway, it's in that area at that time, this was the only place doing all ages local shows. Alan was a conduit. There was always people trying to ask him like, hey man, can you find us something in this place? And he was really good at connecting bands to where they need to go. So I was like, okay, well then this place, you know, can help bring that part out of you and help. Alan helped dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of people out through this place, and he helped us out, and that was awesome. Okay, I want to read this. I gotta thank Matt Schmid from Boy with Robot. I mentioned Alan Dodd earlier. Him and Matt Schmid were like, hey, well, it's a non-profit organization for kids. You know, it's a charity. Let's do some charity stuff, you know? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So that happened from time to time. This is a letter from the Board of Education, Camden, New Jersey, January 3rd, 2012. They sent this to me a year late. On behalf of the Camden City Public Schools, I would like to thank you for your donation of school supplies to the students of Camden City School District. The donated supplies included several backpacks which we filled with the books, pens, pencils, markers, spiral notebooks, paper composition books, crayons, scissors, and glue sticks. The backpacks were distributed to students in our homeless program who were unable to purchase the needed school supplies. It is because of private donors like you that the district was able to assist students with the supplies needed to begin school. in the 2011 to 2012 school year. Again, thank you. Sincerely, Marlene Coleman, Publications Manager. So anyway, that's pretty real. I mean, some kids were able to have notebooks to write in because Matt Schmid put together this charity event.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I wanted to read that. This is Chris Kelly's. He brought in a book and was like, dude, I have an empty book. Let's just like write all of our ideas in this book and we could share it. And I'm like, that's a great idea. Brad was spending a lot of time on the phone. He was the most outgoing person I knew at the time, and he was really into, sometimes I'd be stuck in a lesson, and sometimes I'd be recording someone, and my cell phone number was on the front of the building. I'm pointing at this banner that used to be on the front of the building, and that was my cell phone number. So there was people driving by, literally, and so whenever I would be there, I would pick up Brad every morning, and I would just give him my phone, and I'd be like, just, I don't know, make a list or call some of these people back, find out what they want, and I have this, Brad was the first person successful at that. We also tried to hire people off Craigslist. We're like, we'll give you minimum wage, maybe not even. And so this girl Karen came in once, and I wrote her this script. I'm like, basically, I want you to call people and say, hi, I'm Karen, and if this happens, do this, and yada yada. And that was a lot of fun. Both Brad and Evan booked a lot of shows, and Evan, when I moved to Test Tube, Evan decided not to go to Test. He was like, no, you need somebody. I think Evan did most of the work at the Blackwood Savage after I moved most of things to the Defford spot. Okay, Exploding Wizard Gun Fest. This is like the most bands that ever played at Savage. This is across 3 days, March 4th, 5th, 6th. Evan and Taco put this together. That was Exploding Wizard Gun. Why don't you talk about what you see here?
Was this the dentist papers from there?
There was stuff left over from the dentist all over the place. That was one of the fun things about this building. We had x-rays, we had like dental tools. Supposedly, before I got there, each of the rooms had those dental chairs, and Bob had torn them out and all that. And I remember one day with Chris, Steph, and Kyle, and at least 3 other people, we took out all the dentist sinks and all that, because for most of the time we still had the dentist sinks and the mirrors and the cabinets, the dental. Each of the lesson rooms had a dental vibe. You felt like you're about to get your teeth pulled, but instead some guys are trying to teach you guitar.
Yeah, I remember Alex went down the basement there and found like some kind of dentist stuff. I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was some type of surgical equipment.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I have some really cool dental tools that I still have because of that. And there's some documents. This is just an example. I love showing this to people because like this is just a random. Yeah.
Wow, this paper's here from 1987.
That's the year Appetite for Destruction came out. And I have a set list from. Here we go. Why don't you tell the microphone a little bit about does this jog your memory?
Oh yeah, it does. That was the first show I did there. I don't remember what year it was, but this was a Guns N' Roses Nirvana show. This was kind of in between the transition from the first building it was at into the new one. The first date on there, June 15th, we were actually playing in a church.
In a church? Where? Yeah. What church?
Annunciation School and Church in Belmar.
Okay.
June 17th, we had the opportunity to play out front at the Camden River Sharks game. We were providing music for people on their way in, on their way out, and during the halftime show, or whatever it's called in baseball, I mean, follow sports. And June 23rd, we were back at the church again. Church was pretty cool, but acoustics in there weren't very good. Neat arena to play in, though.
This is a list of everything we bought at Rite Aid in a month. $8.58 in candy and drinks. 9.11 and paper towels and spray bottle for cleaning. 2.33 for water and pretzels. 4.48 for water and tea. 10.88 soap, lemon oxy, and Lysol lime. 5.02 for notebook and water. 4.49 water. 4.49 water. We would get the 24 cases of water and try to sell them for $1 each. And that money just led to more Rite Aid. And $29.39 for vitamin water. $6.12 for pens and water. I remember buying pens. $2.25 water. $1.81 aerosol. $2.67 sponge. $5.66 RM6QT WST toilet paper. $4.48 Scotch painter's tape. $8.55 light bulb for bathroom. $5.34 D batteries for the flashlight. $115 in total at Rite Aid in a month. Like, and I was like, okay. So anyway, so about buying pens. So, you know, it's an average afternoon. You're stressing out that you can't pay the water bill. And you're like, I'm running this business. What do I do? And then, like, someone's like, well, you need to just spend money to make money. And then you're like, I got to write that down. And then you can't find a pen. And you're like, there's pens everywhere. I've seen, you know, pens are the most plentiful thing in this society that we're in. And then you just brokenhearted and defeated. You, like, carefully cross that street and you go buy pens at Rite Aid.
Right.
And it's just, it feels so dirty when I could just steal them from the bank.
They're everywhere until you need them.
Man. Okay, why don't you read this?
All right. What I've got right here is a set list from a Weezer Green Day show that we held there with students. Set list includes Weezer's Hash Pipe, Say It Ain't So, Beverly Hills, Buddy Holly. And on the Green Day side, it's got songs like American Idiot, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Welcome to Paradise, When I Come Around.
Cool.
Mostly names people on them. Some of them there's just like one name on there.
This is for a different show, the thing that I'm holding, but that's a...
Oh yeah, I remember these schedules he would make up too for the shows. This one's more filled out like a graph. It's listing all the songs, all the parts in the songs, who's playing each part. This one was for, I want to say it was an earlier version of the Weezer Green Day show before we finalized the set.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many blank spaces on here. A lot of songs we had to cut out. 3 guitars on some, bass, drummer, vocals, keyboard, and miscellaneous.
I met a lot of people from out of state because we started having touring bands whenever we could. We would tell them in advance, we'd like, yo, you guys need money. And we're going to try to give some to you, but it is not going to be like what you could make in other places. However, in this area, there's really nowhere else to play, unless if you find someone's house, maybe, but, you know, so you can play here, and we'll try to find the right bands to support you, and sometimes we were able to pay touring bands, sometimes we weren't. Sometimes they would be unhappy, sometimes they'd be happy either way. You never know, you can't predict people.
Right. You mentioned the test tube. I know I want to keep this focused on Savage mostly, but do you just want to talk about the test tube a little bit? I was never had a chance to get up there.
The test tube was the escape plan for the Savage Rock School because there was some problems with the building itself, and we all the elephant in the room was that we weren't going to be there forever. So it really limited us in that we had a lot of great ideas on what to do with the place, but you don't want to be like knocking down walls and putting a ton of money into making things look amazing if you know that, like, you know, you're not going to be there forever. And there was problems with the heat and problems communicating with the landlord, and I was, you know, seeing little, like, 9-year-old Timmy freezing to death when all he wants to do is have his guitar lesson. You know, you're like, man, I got to come up with something. And so we opened up the test tube. It was pretty much like another wing of Savage. It was intended to be, but we wanted to run it under kind of different conditions to try to appeal to. Some people were like, ew, you know, and they were like, so when we opened up the test tube, we were like, great, now we can get all those people that said ew to come to this place, and they can pay twice as much to see, you know, and hooray, you know, and then some people would go there, they'd be like, I I don't think we should have punk shows here. We should do that at Savage. And I'm like, obviously, but thanks for coming to try it. We did punk shows once in a while at the test tube, and it was just like, no, not in a shopping center. Like, there was more money involved, and a lot of the money from that kind of helped the original place keep afloat. Because if it was all under the hood of the same corporation, the same entity, it was kind of like a supporting device in a way, but it was also like an escape plan. So that way, when the old building would close, then there would be some place to be able to continue doing it. But it wasn't quite right. No, like a lot of people that were really close to the original building couldn't really transition to the new one, and I don't think I did either. I felt weird there. It was in a shopping center. It wasn't as house-like as that dentist office was. Oh, here's a good document. Do you want to know the real reason why the test tube closed down?
Sure.
Here, why don't you explain to the microphone what you see here?
Electric?
Yes, that's an electric bill.
Electric bill. I'm still living with my parents, so I don't have bills yet. That's insane, $14,000.
Yes, we had an electric bill for $14,000 due on
March
April 20th. Yeah, and I was... obviously, the solution was to leave.
Yeah. Looking at these set lists you got on your wall here, there's one at the bottom, Rock School at Future Artists Now, Spring 2012.
Oh, wow. Of course, right. Remember how I said that it's dormant and it's like a volcano? Well, like, there was like 2 other times that me and Bob were like, let's bring the Rock School back, you know, and this is one of those times. And we, Janie Dean, I want to thank Janie Dean for, this woman had this art space in Gloucester City, and she actually let Bob and I have kids in there like twice a week to jam out. And so we had 6 or 7 kids involved. We played Brain Stew, Numb, TNT, Fade to Black, Voodoo Child, Creep, Misery Business, Another Brick in the Wall, You Belong With Me, We Will Rock You, We're the Champions, Holiday, Kashmir, and Before He Cheats. So this was in the spring of 2012. We tried to bring it back. We actually did a show with them in Gloucester City.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so that was a year after the original Rock School building closed down. And, yeah. January 8th, 2013. Pending revocation notice. Dear customer, the records of the Division of Revenue indicate that your business entity has not filed annual reports for 2 or more consecutive years. Please take notice that your active status will be revoked, and you will be denied the privilege of doing business under the current Savage Rock School of Music and Performance, a New Jersey nonprofit corporation. You will be denied doing the privilege of doing business under the current name if the total fees are not remitted within 60 days of the above date. You know, it costs money just to be a business. Every year, you have to pay the government, like you have to pay the state your annual dues, even if you're a nonprofit, you know, like, and I didn't pay the annual due, like, I didn't necessarily close the Savage Rock School. It's a dormant business entity that can be awakened. Like, next week, we could get a bunch of money together and start, like, filling out forms and putting it back in, and it can come back alive. It's like a volcano, man. Like, the Savage Rock School will never die. I am the last registered agent on record, so if someone else tries to register it, then I can sue them.
Nice.
Yeah. Get formed for the 501c3 nonprofit. That was another thing. We were a legit New Jersey nonprofit corporation, but we did not have the federal 501c3 tax deductible status that churches do. We got to get the tax deductible status, so that way when you would make donations to us, they would be tax deductible. That is something that people with too much money, if you make a certain amount of money, then you get taxed accordingly. If you make a little bit less, you save money on taxes. So sometimes, if you throw like $30,000 or $40,000 at a charity, you can save enough on your taxes to actually make money from that. Like, you could save more than what you actually gave to the charity. So anyway, once you get the 501c3 status, then your money-making potential is limited only to your charisma and your marketing ability. Like, once you get that that 501c3 rating, then all you have to do is just go out there and be super friendly and beg for the money, and eventually you'll get, people throwing serious amounts of money at it because it's a tax thing. It is so that's a thing. That's a thing. But I was like, I want to get a piece of that. Bob already created it. I just wanted to help make it actually get there. You know how Walmart and McDonald's are faceless corporations? I wanted to build a faceless corporation that owns this all-purpose music building, because it would be good. It's a good thing. It's a necessary part of the town. And if a town doesn't have it, it's not cool.
Something about, at the time that the rock school was up, it was the only all-ages venue in the area. Are you seeing more of that around now?
The only one I know of right now is Red Dwarf. That place is incredibly important right now. It is the only place in that area that does all ages shows.
I was just there last week. That place is awesome.
Savage Rock School is a nonprofit teaching center dedicated to showing kids and adults how to rock. At Savage Rock School, you can learn a variety of different instruments, styles, and techniques to further your knowledge of music theory and application. And in Savage Rock School's Right Now recording studios, you can lay down up to 16 great tracks in full 24-bit resolution. The rates are low, the quality is high. Engineer and instructor Mike Britt will create a sound that's just right for you. Thanks to over 10 years of professional experience and a fabulous collection of state-of-the-art microphones and audio production equipment. Right Now Recording's flexible methods and philosophies can shape your sound just the way you want. Learn music and make music at Savage Rock School, located at 7 South Black Horse Pike at the intersection of Route 168 and Church Street in Blackwood, New Jersey. Search for Mike Brick on Facebook or call him at 856-217-4742. That's 856-217-4742.